listen up, you crazy fans, because I am about to pour some knowledge on you. But seriously, I have a lot of questions that y'all wanted to know, so I'm going to sit down. I'm going to answer them the best that I can. And I'm going to start out with two really common questions that I'm just getting in the media every day. One is why the rematch with Holly didn't happen. Well, for one, they have these people called matchmakers that work for the UFC, and they get paid a lot of money to do their job, which is to make the fights, which is not my job. So when they call me up and say, hey, you're fighting so-and-so, I just say, okay. That's usually how it goes. I don't argue or question because I don't feel like that's my job. And I didn't do that before I was a champ, so I'm not going to do it now that I am the champ. And obviously they felt that Amanda was the next best person. And, relax though, because geez, the rematch can happen with Holly. I think everyone's so upset about this, but she's going to go out there, win another fight, and we'll get to see each other again in the future, which I think is more exciting because we'll grow and develop even more as fighters. And honestly, y'all know that I have a ton of respect for Holly. So, none of this is meant to disrespect her at all. I think she's a sweetheart and a great fighter. I think it was a great fight. But honestly, a lot of people don't know about Amanda Nunes, but I think she presents a lot of problems that Holly didn't because she's more well-rounded. And she's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, I think. I believe a brown belt in judo. Don't quote me 100% on that. But anyways, she's at a pretty high level in both of those. And she's got an amazing striking game. She's real lanky. And she knocked out Julia Budd. I don't know if you saw that fight, but it was in Strikeforce, and she was actually fighting at 145. So she went up a weight class. And Julia Budd is a beast of a girl. Like, she's big and strong, and she's a striker. And Amanda went out there years ago and knocked her out. And so with that being said, I believe that Amanda is one of the most well-rounded girls in the division. She's got a strong grappling game. She's got a strong, a clinch game, judo, and she's got one-punch knockout power. I mean, she's going to be a big test for anyone in the division, honestly. So I'm not going to be taking her lightly. If you don't know much about her, just go look her up. Go look up her highlight reel at the very least and get educated, because I think a lot of people for some reason think that this is going to be an easy fight for me. I don't think this is going to be an easy fight at all. I don't think there are easy fights in the UFC. I mean, the girl's ranked 4th in the world for a reason. It's going to be a tough one. So I'm preparing for it. I still think I'm going to win, but I think that it's going to be challenging, definitely. And the next question, or something that I've been getting a lot of crap for, is the comment that I said, and it wasn't just me. I said we had to pick up some pieces from Conor McGregor not showing up as the main event. Well, let me get this straight. I am a fan of Conor McGregor. I think he has an awesome fighting style, and he markets himself so uniquely. You can't discredit that. Like, he does a phenomenal job. Everyone loves to watch him fight, and that's myself included. But I think that Dana is 100% right in saying, hey, if you're not going to show up to do your part of the job, then there's going to be consequences. You can't be the main event of one of the biggest cards of the year and not do the necessary media obligations. And I disagree with him not showing up to that. And what I mean by had to pick up some pieces was the day that we had to film the commercial, which Dana White told me that they've spent like $10 million marketing this card, that they're way, over budget, but you got to spend money to make money kind of a thing. So he's putting so much money into this. And he offered, Conor was going to get to fly over in a private jet and bring up to 20 people with him. I mean, how awesome, first of all, and how easy, you bring all your whole gym with you pretty much if you want to. You could probably train on the plane. It's a private plane, hit mitts on the plane, train right when you land, and then you're in and out. And, they try to make it as easy as they could on him. But if you are the main event, you have to do that. You've got to do that stuff. And I think, like I was saying, coming back to that, the day that the commercial was supposed to be filmed, it was supposed to be that myself, Amanda, Frankie Edgar, and Jose Aldo had to film 2 segments for this commercial, and the main event had to film the 2 segments plus one more segment, which is the highlight of the commercial, which is the main event. Well, because the main event didn't show up, we had to... They literally begged me when I showed up that morning. They begged me to come back. I mean by like the producers of the commercial, begged me to come back and said, can you please come back later today and film this 3rd segment? Well, that 3rd segment happened to be right over my practice time, my pro practice at my gym, which I didn't want to miss. But obviously they were hurting so bad, and like they really were like, please, like basically on their knees, like, we need this segment of the commercial. We don't have the main event now, so we have to film it with you guys and, you know, see how it all comes together. So anyways, I agreed and came back and filmed the 3rd one, but that caused me to miss my practice, and I had to switch everything around. And it wouldn't have been as big of a deal if I had known before, but it was the day of, and, you know, it threw a wrench in the whole mix, and it was just kind of frustrating, you know, to be honest. So I just was like, man, like here, you know, and it wasn't just me, it was all of us, you know, but I'm outspoken. I have a freaking mouth that I can't control sometimes, and I just say how I really feel, and I'm pretty transparent. But I'm not one-sided either. That doesn't mean that I have any hard feelings towards Connor, and that doesn't mean that I hate the guy or that I'm not a fan of his. Absolutely not. But I'm going to say how I feel. And sometimes people are like, oh, you're complaining, this and that. Well, I mean, if you were in my shoes and you had to miss your practice to pick up something that Connor didn't give any notice on, that he wasn't going to be there, and then they're asking you to fill in the blank when it was, you know, his job and his responsibility and his contract to do it. I mean, yeah, am I allowed to be a little bit frustrated? I think so. I think it's fair. It is what it is. It's done now. It's over with. I don't care. It doesn't bother me anymore. But in that moment in time, I'm going to tell people the truth. Like, freaking shoot me, I guess, for voicing my opinion. So those are 2 questions that I've been getting a lot of flack for, I could say, for a lack of better terms. But more specifically now, I'm going to turn to my Facebook, and I'm going to answer a few questions from you, the fans, directly. Okay, first fan question is from Lori. She said, any chance of you starting a clothing line? As I'd said in a previous post of yours, you're absolutely slaying it in your recent face-off ensembles. You look marvelous. Well, thank you. You know, I've thought about it. I have. I wouldn't say that there's any, like, for sure plans to start a clothing line, but you never know. It might come about. I actually met this lady named Patty on a cruise leaving from, I think it was Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And anyways, I met her and we were chatting for a while, and she's like, you kind of look like Miesha Tate. And I'm like, And she's like, do you get that a lot? I'm like, oh, every once in a while. And then we kept chatting for a while, and then she's like, you know, you really look like, and then finally I told her, you know, probably after half an hour of chatting with her, that I was Miesha. And she's like, I knew it. She's like, I'm such a, you know, she was a newer fan. She's like, I'm a fan of yours. And anyways, she owns a clothing store called My Best Friend's Closet. In Fort Lauderdale, Florida, or near Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I haven't actually been in store, but she sent me a box of clothes, and I absolutely love it. So a lot of the stuff that you've been seeing recently is coming from that little store, and she's supposed to be sending more. So hopefully I'll be slaying it some more. Question from Andrea. Hi, Miesha. It was no secret that you and Holly Holm had a friendly relationship going into UFC 196. I remember hearing an interview that you both promised to meet for a beer after. Did the beer ever happen? And how is the relationship with you and Holly now in light of the chokeout and no rematch in the near future? Great questions, Andrea. The beer did not happen. I would have obviously been open to that. still a fan of Holly, still really like her a lot. Not that much a fan of her manager or management, but we'll let that one go. Anyways, Holly is awesome. We had not seen each other or spoken to each other until this last UFC event that had John Jones fighting on it. And we saw each other at the VIP party before the fights. And I kind of went up to her because I wanted to say something, but it's like, what do you say after something like that and just everything that's happened? I know that she's not in a happy situation, and it's not my fault, but it's still, it sucks for her. And I feel for her, especially having to sit on a defeat. I hate that. I hate having to sit on a loss. I don't handle it very well. So I can imagine for her that this is a frustrating time. And I came up to her and said, how are you doing? She's like, fine. I'm okay. And she gave me a hug, which was nice. And, I'm like, is there anything set up for you? She's like, nope, not yet. And I'm like, well, don't worry. I was like, we will have that rematch and, it'll happen. She's like, I know. And she said, I hope that you hang on to it. I hope you hang on to that belt. And I want to see you in the near future. And I said, absolutely. And yeah, that was it. It was cool and casual. And, she was nice enough to hug me back. I suppose she didn't have to, but, it was good. It was good. And I hope that, we will have that rematch and, we'll see what's going to happen with that. Great question though. All right. Josh says, I've been a huge fan since Strikeforce and I want to buy a shirt of yours to show my support, but I'm not going to wear a shirt with Cupcake on it. Ah, come on, Josh. That's like only real men can wear shirts with Cupcake on it. All right. Anyways, he says, any chance you're going to be making a non-Cupcake shirt in the future? I think it would help the appeal for more of a male fan base if you did. And win, lose, or draw, I love watching you fight. Best of luck at UFC 200. Well, I didn't think about that before. I suppose Cupcake's always been kind of a part of my brand, at least for a long time. But I think on the UFC website, if I'm not mistaken, the UFC store, I think that there's some men's shirts that don't say Cupcake on it. I know they say Miesha Tate. I'm not sure if they are or are not making it, but with your suggestion, I will take that into mind. And I will see what I can do to make some non-Cupcake shirts for you non-Cupcake wearing guys out there. All right, next question from Wayne. Which 3 people, dead or alive, would you most likely be to go have a beer with, assuming you drink beer? Yes, I drink beer. That's a good question. Okay, so 1 would have to be Jesus Christ, of course. Like, that would probably be the coolest conversation you could ever have with someone. First of all, just from someone of that time era. And second of all, like, what a cool dude, right? Probably Gandhi would be another one. Absolutely fascinating individual. And probably Bruce Lee. He's such a cool, iconic figure in everything that we do and my sport. So I feel like that would be a fun conversation to have over a beer. Absolutely. All right. Devere. I hope I'm saying that right. It's Devere or Devere. He says, the podcast with Dr. Edwards was really helpful and inspired me to change the way I shop for my family. My son suffers from nosebleeds and is borderline anemic, and my wife is a fussy veggie. Both need more iron, and now they will be getting it. Thanks to you, champ. Very cool. I'm awesome. I'm really happy to hear that. I think that Dr. Edwards is one of the most educational podcasts that I've put out yet. If you haven't had a chance to listen to it, I really recommend it. Just his knowledge is endless. I may be doing more podcasts with him, I think, on a more regular basis because it's so informative and it's just good to have that kind of knowledge about what you are and are not putting in your body. But I'm glad that this helped you, Devere. Oh, I'm afraid I'm butchering this name. I apologize if I am. Question. So the question was, if you could set the card for Seattle in UFC 2 whatever in CenturyLink, who would you have on the main card and headlining? Well, since I'm from Seattle, obviously I would love to be on the main card, and it would be a big honor if I could defend my belt in Seattle. Historically, Seattle hasn't had very good turnouts though to UFC events. But the problem is I think both times that the UFCs went to Seattle, it was nice out. Like I think it was in July or something. And I'm always like, you can't put an indoor event in July in Seattle because that's the only time anybody ever gets any sun. Nobody wants to go spend it indoors. I mean, if you live there, you know, if you lived in Western Washington like I did for most of my life, it rains a lot, like 9 months out of the year. So the last thing I think anyone wants to do on a Saturday when it's gorgeous is go indoors. So I think they'd have more success if it was like in the rainy season, because then people want to be indoors anyways. So I'd love to be on the card. But if I was going to pick another one or like a headline besides myself, I'd probably do like George St. Pierre. He's one of my favorite fighters. It'd be really cool if he came back, obviously. And fighting who? I don't know. Maybe Hendricks again. That was a really good fight and super, super close as it was. So that could be a good one. But as long as I had George St. Pierre, I'd be all right with it. Maria asks, well, she says, you have worked your way to the very top of women's MMA, a sport that has grown tremendously in recent years. True. Have your goals changed since your Strikeforce days? I ask because of the fame, fortune, celebrity opportunities have grown tremendously, a tremendous amount, excuse me, I can't read, have grown a tremendous amount since your Coonan fight, and you have continuously handled all the challenges and politics. And as a world champion still moving forward in legacy as a great of the era, but is it different for you now than in 2010, 11, 12? Different or bigger goals? Yeah, it definitely is different. I mean, in 2010, 11, 12, those years there wasn't a lot of other opportunities, and now there is. There's a lot more going on. There's a lot more moving pieces, and it gets harder. And as you keep going, it's just like, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. I mean, yeah, I definitely have different goals. Obviously, one huge goal was to become the UFC world champion, which I feel like is a whole nother level. And now there's more things I want to do, like continuing to work with Fox as an analyst. I like to do a few more movies. Yeah, just all those kinds of things. Whatever opportunities come my way, I feel like I'm a lot busier than I used to be, but I'm also a lot happier. I always say busy is better than being bored. So I just want to stay busy. I want to have fun. Life is a one-time thing. You don't get to do it twice unless you believe in reincarnation. I don't necessarily. I don't think that you get another chance. So it's one go around. So you gotta make the most of it. So I'm just trying to have fun. Adam says, I've been a fan of yours since 2014, and I knew you were a real warrior by the way we have the same birthday. Well, August babies. Happy birthday, Adam. Question from Enam. Enam says, hi, Miesha. Apart from your cupcakes, can you name some of your favorite foods? Oh boy, yes, I can. I love food. So, some of my favorite foods, and I'm really hungry right now, by the way. Cheese. I just love cheese. I love it. Like, it's my vice. It's the one thing I could not give up. I honestly think I could give up cupcakes before I could give up cheese. Actually, I know I could. I used to be a really sugar and carb driven person and felt like I needed a lot of sugars and a lot of carbs. But now I've been turning to more high fat diet, and I feel way better and a lot more, it's a lot more sustainable energy source. And that's another one. I keep referring back to Dr. Edwards in that podcast, but we talk about it in there, and sort of a ketosis diet and how it's better for you than having a sugary, carby diet. So as much as I love cupcakes, they're something I like to enjoy on occasion, not something that I eat on a regular basis. And I really have to be in the right mood, and I really want to enjoy it. So it's not something I eat all the time. But he does say, what does your diet look like now, and what does it compare to when you're training for a fight? Congrats on your win, and good luck in your fight with Nunes. I'm so excited to see you defend the belt. Thank you, Enam. So back to what I was saying, more high fats. And I have been, oh my gosh. So when I talked to Dr. Edwards, he talked about how good liver is for you. Well, I happen to actually really like liver, or at least the like the pâtés or the mousses. At Whole Foods, I got this truffled, I forget what kind. I think it's truffled chicken liver. Oh my God. So good. It's a mousse. So it's like, it's spreadable and has like the jelly on top, not like a sweet jelly, but stuff that's really good for your joints. And it's got all this good stuff, like way more vitamin C than carrots. And I don't know, all this really good stuff for you. So for some reason, food that's good for me tastes better to me. I'm kind of weird like that. But I also love, what else is like some sort of bad things? I don't know. I've been recently addicted to like tomatillo sauce too. Really, really good. I like to put it in my eggs. Burgers. Yeah, that'd be a good one. I love burgers. So like burgers, slather on the mayonnaise and cut up some tomatoes and lettuce and like good Tillamook cheese to die for. Okay, I'm getting really, really hungry now. You're going to be able to hear my stomach growl in a couple seconds. Question from Shannon. Does it bother you that Holly thinks the reason you won the fight is because you capitalized on her mistakes rather than acknowledging that you outperformed her? Even Connor admitted that Nate was more efficient than he was and gave credit where credit was due. Rhonda, on the other hand, blames her loss to Holly on destiny. Well, that's a good question. Let me word this carefully. Not every win or loss is based on whether someone made a mistake or didn't make a mistake. Sometimes things just happen, or it was just really well planned out. And I suppose you could say every win is a mistake. I dropped my right hand and I got knocked out. That was my mistake. I got choked out. That was my mistake. I got armbarred. That was my mistake. You could always like say that it's your fault. I mean, it is, but it's still, in my opinion, not, you got to give credit to the other person. It's not just that you made a mistake, but that they actually did something really well and were just better than you that night. They did it better. So, I mean, I don't feel like it was just that Holly made a mistake. I feel like I went out there and I took it. I earned it. I got it. And I think I deserve credit for that. It's a learning experience for her. It's something that she can work on in the future, but I think I owned it. I think I went out there in the 5th round and I went out like a boss and I took that fight and I knew I needed to finish it. So I did. And, I don't want to have any credibility lost because, someone's saying like, oh, it's, it was only based on their mistake. No, it's both. I mean, everyone makes a mistake at times in fights, and you can lose a fight because you made a mistake, or you can say that the other person won because they did something better than you could. And Shannon, I am seeing 3 great questions here. I'm going to answer 2 of them. This is another good one too that maybe I should have even started the podcast with, because this is another one that I've been getting a lot from a lot of people. But you said, why do you think Holly feels she did you a favor by fighting you? It wasn't a favor. She wanted to fight you just as much as you wanted to fight her, and you earned your title shot. It did not get handed to you as a favor. That's a really great question. So when you look at it like Holly did me a favor, Holly would have been out for a year. She fought Rhonda in November, and if she was going to wait for Rhonda, she would have had a year of ring rust, as we call it, ring rust. I guess you could say cage rust, ring rust. So she would have had to sit out for an entire year and lose a year of competing. And I wouldn't want to do that as a champion. I can understand why she wouldn't want to do that as a champion. So realistically, I was the one the UFC said was next in line. Like if she wanted to fight someone else rather than wait for Rhonda, it had to be me. I was the next one. And I think it's a little bit unfair to say that she did it to me as a favor. It's not like she went home after she beat Rhonda and was like, man, poor Miesha Tate. She didn't get that fight with Rhonda. I'm going to give her a fight just for her, just because, she really deserves it. Even if I don't want to fight, I'm going to do it just for her. No, she went home and was like, I don't want to sit out for a year. Miesha's the next option if I want to fight again, and I do want to fight again, so I'm going to fight Miesha. That's the one that's ahead of me, in front of me. If Rhonda's not the next one, then Miesha's the next one in line. And So I feel like it's a little unfair to say she did me a favor. She really didn't do me a favor. She wanted to fight, and she asked the UFC who's next. They said Miesha. If not Ronda, then Miesha. And she said, okay, then I want to fight Miesha because I want to fight. So, in all honesty, she did it for herself. And, neither one of us had really fought each other before. And you have to look at it. We both went in there with an equal opportunity to beat each other. And if she had beat me, do you really think that I would be getting an immediate rematch? Like, I don't think so. I think, it was a clean slate. Neither one of us had fought before. If she had beaten me, she would have waited, for Ronda to be the next fight. I do not, honestly, in the bottom of my heart, believe there would have been an immediate rematch. But since I beat her, it's like, well, the immediate rematch needs to happen. I'm going to also tell you this. I never got an immediate rematch ever one time in my career. Never. Even when I lost my Strikeforce world title, I didn't get an immediate rematch. So, it's the name of the game. Sometimes it just doesn't go the way you want it to always. No hard feelings against Holly, but I don't feel like it was a favor to me. I really don't believe she went home and her management went home. Let's just do this just for Miesha. We're just going to go and do this just for her because she really deserves it. No, it was what they wanted. They wanted to stay active, and I understand, just as I want to stay active as a champion or a fighter in general. I get it, and I understand why she wanted the rematch entirely. I understand, but I don't think it would have worked the other way around. If I had lost, I don't believe I would be getting an immediate rematch, as I never have in my career before, even when I was the champion and lost it. So immediate rematches that's just something that the company has to deem whether that's necessary or not. And the UFC felt like it wasn't. And I'm not going to argue with the big bosses. They pick the fights. And so for me, it's Amanda next. But I am completely open to a rematch. I really feel like Holly's going to go out there and she's going to win her next fight or two. And we'll see each other down the road. It's not the end of the world. It's not a big deal. We'll see each other, down the road. But I don't think any favors were done for anyone. I think it was all business. It's what she wanted. And, for me too, it's business. I just doing what the UFC's asking me to do. Don't kill the messenger. All right. Heath asks, he says, my question to you is how many hours do you put into the gym or a mat over a week? And how long is a training camp to build to a fight? And, is a lot of it just high base fitness? Well, I train 4 to 6 hours a day in the gym, roughly, 6 days a week, usually once on Saturday. So I'll spend, 2 hours in the gym. And then I'll go for like a hike or something outdoors just to kind of break the monotony, because sometimes you get so sick of looking at the same walls every day, multiple times a day. And you just got to get out and do something active outdoors, get some fresh air. So I'll do something like that for my second workout on Saturday. And a lot of it is obviously fitness based, because if you could have all the skills in the world, but if you're too tired to use them, they're not going to help you. So you've got to be in tremendous shape, but you also have to hone skills, and each fight presents its challenges. So you kind of want to usually taper certain skills to certain opponents. So you've got imagine a whole toolbox. You've got your hammer, you've got your screwdriver, you've got your nails, you've got your, a nail gun, you've got this, you have all these different tools. And for a certain project, you're going to need certain tools. So you pull those out of the toolbox and have them ready to use, but you still bring your toolbox with you to the fight. Obviously, sometimes, like when I fought Sarah McMahon and she freaking cracked me with an overhand right that I didn't see it coming and didn't expect it. So, the tools that I had pulled out of the toolbox were no longer the tools that I needed. So I had to open up the toolbox again and kind of dig deep down in there for something that was going to be able to problem solve the problem at hand. So yeah, there's a lot of it, a lot of things that go into it, a lot of moving pieces, a lot of conditioning, a lot of technical work, a lot of full on sparring, wrestling, grappling, and you just got to balance it out. And I think it's a personal preference of how much of what you do. I usually try to do my strength and conditioning at least 3 days a week, and I hit mitts, 2 to 3 times a week, wrestle once or twice a week, and grapple a couple times a week and then MMA sparring a couple times a week. And then that's about it. That's about all the body can handle. It's pretty exhausting. And overtraining is something that I feel like is very prominent in our sport because you have a bunch of knuckleheads that are tough. They're tough as they come. And they don't stop and think about how the body actually gets stronger. Your body doesn't get stronger when you're working out. It actually gets weaker. You're actually tearing muscle tissue down and breaking your body down. Your body actually gets stronger when you're resting. So if you're working out 24/7, you're going to be in a world of hurt and you're not going to be able to physically perform. And that's not, sometimes when you see fighters and you know that they trained really hard for a fight, but after round one, they're just gassed. They just have nothing left. That's because their body is still in a broken down state and they haven't given enough recovery time either through their training camp or towards the end when it was really, really important. They maybe were still pushing really, really hard the week of the fight. And there's so much that goes into it. It's really a science. And the longer I've been doing it, I still surprise myself with how much I learn each training camp and each time that I go through this. And it really goes to show that being more of a pioneer in the sport does matter. It does help. And the people who are around you and have been involved in this sport for a long time, they gain knowledge as well. So it's a lot of synergy and a lot of things that go into it to make you be able to show up on fight day at your peak and best. And it's a science to not mess that up. All right. I think that's going to be a wrap for this podcast. Thank you so much for submitting your questions. And remember, I'm going to make this a more regular option as well. So keep your eye out on my Facebook fan page. It's just Miesha Tate. Miesha Tate's fan page. You just go there and submit your questions. I'm going to do these probably once a month is what I'm, once or twice a month. So keep an eye out. I'm having a lot of fun answering the things that you guys really, really want to know. So keep it up. Get creative. Ask good questions, just like you have been. Let me know what you want to know from me. And it's been a lot of fun. Thank you guys.